What does panentheism imply about our relationship to God or a causative force? Panentheism implies that our relationship to the causative force is just that, a relationship. These are many types of relationships. Some are loving and warm, some are abusive and violent. Some are one-way, some are a two-way interaction. Some are beneficial, some are destructive. This is in considering human relationships. We have historically defined the relationship between ourselves and the causative force as a one-way relationship. We did this out of logic. We did this out of our faith. We did this out of observing what was around us. But as all of us know, one-way, long-term relationships lead to nowhere but to resentment, disappointment, broken dreams, shattered hopes, irresolvable problems, and eventual separation. These results are reactions that we all wish to avoid in relationships we hold dear. The relationships we cultivate between ourselves and the causative force are ones that we define. The past separation of religions, science, and philosophy has kept us from understanding the big picture. Each of the areas has one piece of a four-piece puzzle, and nobody is offering to be first to put their piece on the table. Now a piece has been placed. Now the size of the causative force has been laid on the table for examination and been found to be just what religions have been professing all the time, but refused to accept without a qualifier. Now it is time for science to bare its soul and risk putting on the table the piece of the puzzle it holds. It is time to take a breath and hope for the best. Your future, my future, the future of our children, the future of our environment, the future of other life forms in other parts of the universe may very well depend upon the actions we decide to take, or worse yet, not to take. Panentheism, we have found a home for our soul. Overly dramatic, you say? Is it? Perhaps. But on the other hand, perhaps not. What characteristic does panentheism assign the causative force? Panentheism says the causative force, or God, is omnipresent, all-present in terms of our universe. There are no qualifiers. A qualifier is an exception to the statement. For example, the causative force is omnipresent but transcends the universe. This qualifier is an attempt to take from the causative force things that are considered to be quote unquote sins of the world. This qualifier is an attempt to take the evil of the world, the bad things, out of the causative force. Until, however, we accept the understanding that the bad things of the world, the universe, are also inside the causative force, we will not understand why it is so important to elevate our level of behavior. We will only take our behavior seriously when we understand that the actions we consciously decide to take will have repercussions that actually become a part of the causative force itself. The sense of responsibility for one's behavior only becomes important when one understands that one's behavior leads to personal repercussions generated from one's own personal behavior. If St. Anselm is correct in arguing that as a species, if we conceive of a necessary being, its existence takes on a reality, then the acceptance of the concept of a causative force is perfectly logical. At this point, it is also worth noting that the argument against God, or the causative force, based upon speculation that the causative force must then have a causative force, or a creator itself, would have no bearing here. The acknowledgement of God for our universe is what is at issue here. The acceptance of such a God or a force then leads to the discussion of the question regarding where that force would be, location, and size. Religions, once professing a causative force to be omnipresent, cannot then declare that it is not, or she is not, or he is not. The paradox of evil existing in a perfect being has to be dealt with in another fashion. This is one of the benefits of symbiotic panentheism, for just as symbiotic panentheism elevates human perceptions to new levels through expanding the size of God, the causative force, it also does away with one's religion's most perplexing paradoxes, which has caused them to reject the omnipresence or full omnipresence of the causative force even while they proclaim it.